get his date down?
Yeah, it was clear. It came off real clear.
I was 3 years old, going on 3 when he died.
Did you remember him?
No.
But your dad told you all about him, huh?
Oh, yes. And my dad took after him more than he did his dad.
So this is your dad's
It's his grandfather.
Uh-huh.
I asked him one time, Papa was particular about doing things right, you know,
Yeah.
like I do. And I told him one time, I said, Papa, I bet your daddy was a particular man, had to have everything just right. He said, huh. Said just anything would do with him. I said, well, where'd you get yours? He said, from Grandpa Oliver. He'd work black folks on the farm, and on Christmas or his birthday, which was 5 days before Christmas, he'd buy a barrel of apples and have a big feast, and all the kids come in, they could go to the apple barrel and get them an apple.
You mean for the workers?
No,
people?
For children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, everybody come,
Uh-huh.
all children. Imagine a barrel of apples. That's the way they'd ship them in then.
Yeah.
See, a wooden barrel, and they could be shipped by freight. And Papa said on rainy days that he'd mend harness and get his hands out there and grease the harness, keep them greased good where they'd be pliable, soft. Well, Clarence Johnson's a big landowner now, and I've heard him talk about the record book over at the courthouse.
Yeah.
Said there wasn't nothing to run into a place that Grandpa Oliver and Jep Oliver owned. Everybody, without any relation to anything, he was known as Uncle Jep.
Uncle Jep.
And this is his wife, Lucinda Elizabeth. I've got all this information in my family history book.
Yeah.
Now then, did you notice his birthday? December 20th?
Yeah.
That's my birthday.
Well, I'll be done.
And then, his dad was named William Oliver, and his birthday is also December 20th.
Why?
And up this street up here next to Rocky Branch, out in the field, there's a fence like this here.
Yeah.
Around it. That's where William Oliver was buried. This fence was all around this one, and they took it down some way so they could mow in there.
Yeah.
Well, is any other thing?
Dad, didn't you tell me the story about John S.'s first wife, why they separated last time? You want to tell that on here?
It doesn't matter to me. She had an affair with a doctor who had lost his wife, and he'd visit him frequently and spend the night and so forth, and one of her brothers told my grandfather what was going on. He didn't believe it, and he said, well, you just pretend you're asleep.
One of your grandmother's brothers told your grandfather about
Yeah.
this?
See, that would be his brother-in-law.
Yeah.
But he didn't like what was going on, and he just told him, thought you might stop it, you know. And the house had an open hall like it did back then, and he was a family friend as well as a doctor and all, and so she had put him and my grandfather across the hall to sleep.
And they slept together?
No, in
the
separate
same
beds.
Yeah.
They had big rooms back in those days.
Yeah.
And they all had 2 beds in them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was big families and so forth, and her brother told Grandpa, said, you just pretend you're asleep and snore a little bit and listen. And sure enough, it happened. He got up and went across the hall, the doctor did.
Had a lot of nerve, didn't he?
And then my grandfather, he lay there a little bit, and he got up and went across the hall. So he gave her walking papers.
Okay.
And so see, those things are not new. They've been going on from all time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, back to Thomas B over here.
Yeah.
He was buried at Hampton for 2 or 3 years and moved here.
When was that?
Well, I don't know if this cemetery was started then.
Oh.
And when it was, he's moved up here. And you remember he died in 1849, so that'll date this cemetery at least beyond 1849.
Yeah. All of these Olivers and Newtons, were they all of them in this church?
Yeah. Oh, of course, some wasn't in any church. They'd go, but never united.
Yeah.
That's quite, I don't know what to say. It happened quite often among the Olivers. They would go and they'd uphold the church in every way, but they just wouldn't join. Wouldn't unite. There's still some today do that.
Would they be baptized and?
No, they're just good in the community and attend the church. Help support it in their way, but not regularly.
Yeah.
But somehow or another, they just never did join the church. But they was always uphold the church. So, you can see down through there lots of Olivers. I see one right yonder, and way down yonder's one, and way over yonder with the flowers on the monument is another one. Besides, a lot of these old ones here are Olivers, all scattered all down through here.
But your mother's side is up at Means, you say?
Yes.
It's the Tomlinsons, right?
Right. Tomlinsons and Means. My mother's mother was a Means.
Yeah.
Her mother's father, which was Mama's grandfather, my great-grandfather, was the first clerk of Calhoun County.
Oh.
James Harvey Means. And he was out for 4 years. It wasn't like it is now, everybody trying to get it. And seemed like there was a need for him, and he got back and served about 6 more years. I think he served a total of at least 10 years. 4 one time and 6 another, I believe. And then later, in my mother's generation, she had a first cousin with the same name and initial, T.N. Means. No, I'll take that back. James Harvey had a son, T.N. Means, that was clerk. And then a generation later, then a grandson of his, or 2 generations later, was clerk, T.N. Means. And you knew some of those Means boys.
Well, anything else you want to cover while we're out here this time? This can be continued.
Well, you cut it off right now if you wanted to.
Okay.
And we could sort of go. There were sisters.
That was your dad's second wife.
Yeah.
And they were married, remember when? Till she died? But
around 1952. No, wait, not 52. Mama was 50 years old, and she died in 29, around 1931.
That's when they got married?
Yeah. Well, I believe Ludy said down there that they got married in December before they did in March, and Gordon them married in 31, so Papa and them might have married in December 30.
Mm-hmm.
Mama died in April 29, I believe. April 26, 1929, Mama died. So it was a year and a half. We got married.
Of your dad, what do you think? Do you think you got a lot of his traits?
Yes, I think I have quite a few. Uncle Cleve used to tell me that I go walking off, that I walk just like him. Said I remind him of him lots, and the trait that the thing, you know, that the things I do, it's got to be right.
Yeah.
Well, Papa was like that. If it wasn't right, he'd tear it up and do it again.
Yeah.
And he didn't want anybody doing any shoddy work around him either. Used to on the farm we was plowing. I liked to plow when I was little, and I'd do my best to please him so I'd get to plow. And right then I'd done the wrong thing, and Pete did the opposite, and when he just needed one plow hand, you know who got the plow, who had to plow. He wouldn't let you plow, and the plow maybe hit a little hard, so you can scoot out of the ground. If it did, you had to say whoa and back up and get it.
Uh-huh.
He didn't want no hard places in there. Everything had to be right. And I think I'm very much like him, maybe more than any of the others. I've had people tell me that.
Was he the kind that could figure out how to do anything?
Everything
You
that
talked
Papa
a little
did,
bit.
Yeah, he learned it himself. He didn't copy other people. He was he had a vision. He could see things that he wanted to do and then make it a reality. Keith has lots of that too.
Yeah.
He was a lot like Keith. Of course, as time goes on, we surpass,
Yeah.
you know, our fathers or forebears.
What kind of man was he as far as the way he treated other people? Was he
He was one of the best men I ever knew, not because he's my daddy, but all of the people who knew him said the same thing. This was way before the days of integration. He wouldn't mistreat a black person, no way that he'd mistreat him. He would pay him. If he worked them, he didn't hire many people because he had his own workforce. But and he wouldn't have them to come help kill hogs and things like that and just give them the stuff that he wouldn't have. He treated them just like he'd treat a white person. And he treated everybody that way. He followed the golden rule. Do unto others, you'd have them do unto you. A while back, when Johnny and them was up here, and he'd been wanting to see Herbert Lee Bland and so forth, and Bun Ivy and Johnny grew up together, and Bun had told me a lot of times to let him know when Johnny's up here. So one afternoon, they took dinner with us, and that afternoon we went out to Herbert Lee's and let him visit Herbert Lee a little bit, and Gordon was along too. Then we went out to the bird place, Randolph Birds, and visited him. Then I carried him over to Bun Ivy's, and Bun told me 2 or 3 times since then, he said, "I'm sure glad you brought them boys over." I said, "I really was glad to see them." And he told all 3 of us over there then, he said, "Mr. John Newton, one of the best men I ever knew." He said, "I'm not just saying that because I'm saying it to you boys," said, "I've always said that," and the whole community felt that way about him. And he wasn't so outgoing and so forth. He was very modest.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do it to make a show.
Yeah.
But still, the fruits of it was there, and the people really admired him. I mean, respected him.
Yeah.
He wasn't a very talkative man.
Was he? So he, as far as what he practiced his religion and all that, was he pretty just? It was sort of a way he lived it. Huh?
He lived his religion. Yes, my daddy never prayed in public.
Is that right?
And he didn't have emotional religion.
Yeah.
But he taught us and set the example. Now, my mother was an emotional person. I've seen her shout all over the front of that old church building.
Yeah.
You remember the one we moved when we built this one?
Well, I remember an old wooden church somewhere that we went to.
Yeah.
Was it moved from this spot?
Yeah, it's sitting in Locust Bowl today.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I never
Baptist
understood that.
Bowl.
I thought that was just a place that we used. Well, that's where we. Let's see. When was this church here built?
1951.
Okay, we'll see. I was 5.
That
Well, Dad-
church being a tall, high walls, high ceiling, and then it was a steep roof, and to get under the wires and things, they tore the roof off of it to move it to Locust Bowl. And when we sold it to the Baptists, and in that process, it came a big rain after the roof was off and got it wet. We laughed and told them, well, that is the Baptist way of baptizing that church, making a Baptist church out of a Presbyterian church. See, the Presbyterians sprinkled and the Baptists immersed.
So they had to get it good and wet before they'd have it, huh?
Yeah. Here's one. Well, we got that, Newton. There's another. Buddy's dad is. Would you like to get it?
Yeah.
It's down this way.